Hello, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to have a look at sunsets and how they work in the most basic sense, and how flurfs always get them so wrong. Whenever we bring up the topic of sunsets, flurfs immediately jump on their weak and ridiculous perspective argument. So let's have a look at that and try to do a bit of side-by-side comparison, shall we? Let's begin by looking at a video by Mr. Chippy himself, Fouquet Word, as he tries to explain this ridiculous claim, and then we'll look at what we actually observe when the sun sets.
When the sun sets and appears to go below the horizon, it's just going to the center of our field of view as it goes away into the distance. And because the solid surface is also there in the center of our field of view, then the sun is cut off. And when we are told to imagine or perceive ourselves on a globe, we are given this side-on view of the observer, taking away that first person's perspective and translating it into an imaginary curve beneath our feet. That's why perspective is the imaginary curve. Thank you very much.
Okay, now that Mr. Chippy has given his explanation for sunsets, if you can call it that, let's compare it to reality. Before we begin, let's put in a few guides to help us with our comparison later. First of all, we will put a blue line across the scene to mark the horizon. There we go. Now we will introduce two red guides to establish the size of the sun from one side to the other. Alright, now let's watch the sun set and see if the sun changes size with distance, or stays consistent as it drops behind the horizon. Well, would you look at that? No change in angular size, and the sun disappears behind the horizon bottom up. Clearly, this is what we observe everywhere on Earth during sunset, and is consistent with the globe model. So now, let's model the flurf claim that sunsets are the result of the sun reducing in size due to distance as per the basic rules of perspective, more correctly referred to as linear perspective, defined as the appearance of things relative to one another as determined by their distance from the viewer. In order to model this, we will maintain the same system of guides and observe what happens. We will put in a filled rectangle to represent the ground to the horizon. Now we will place a circle of equal size to represent the sun. Now let's run my simulation to see what happens when we follow the rules of perspective. As you can see, the reduction in the angular size of the sun is obvious and rapid, not at all what we observe in nature. Now let's place both models side by side and compare. Well, it is clear that what the flurfs claim does not match what we observe in nature by any stretch of the imagination. No amount of argument or claims of refraction could ever account for the drastic change in angular size of the sun. But, to be fair, let's adjust the flurf model and raise the sun higher up above the ground, since they claim the sun travels in a great circle around the flat plane and does not move at ground level. Again, the sun does not behave as it should according to our observations in the natural world. There have been many others in our community who have debunked flurf claims of perspective causing sunsets, and all of them have done great work. But I would like to add one more thing that I have yet to see included and that annihilates every last argument Flurfs can come up with. Let's lose the time-lapse video and make some adjustments to the Flurf model. First, let's replace our sun model with something more realistic. Now, if you recall, Flurfs make the claim that the sun travels in a great circle overhead and travels all around the flat Earth. If that were the case, then according to their own arguments, this is what we should be seeing at sunset. It seems pretty clear that perspective is the loser in this argument. The angular size of any object will always decrease as your distance from it increases. In reality, there is no change in the angular size of the Sun, because its distance from the Earth remains relatively constant, and the distance you travel from day into night on a spinning Earth is so negligible that changes in angular size of the Sun are imperceptible. And with that, I rest my case, and I challenge any Flurf out there to explain it. Good luck with that. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If so, please remember to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And leave a like and a comment so YouTube will recommend it to others. And always remember, never be afraid to speak your mind. Just think before you do it. I'll see you again in the next one.